Alchemistic Insight, Episode 2, The Last Kings and the First Rebels, Pluto in Aquarius and the Power Shift We've Been Waiting For, Part 1. The world is shifting. Systems are crumbling, illusions are breaking, and the transpersonal planets moving through generational transits are reshaping everything. The question is, are you ready to lead yourself through it? Welcome to Alchemistic Insight, where we bridge metaphysical philosophy, alchemy, mysticism, esoteric wisdom, and real-world strategy to turn insight into action. I'm Reverend Danielle M. Oldman, and it's time to see through the illusion, stay centered in source, stand in your power, and create a real change. Now let's get to work. Pluto does not ask for permission. It tears down what is rotten, whether we're ready or not. And in Aquarius, it is dismantling everything we thought we knew about power, control, technology, and collective progress. You see, the old world is gasping for air. The kings, the dictators, the gatekeepers, they know their time is running out. And yet, like all dying empires, they will fight tooth and nail to hold on to power. But here's the truth. Their hands are slipping. And I know it looks chaotic and a hot mess out there. But trust me, when I say their hands are slipping, now the question isn't if they will fall, because they will fall. It's how and when. And more importantly, who will rise to take their place? Welcome to my spiritual activists, my spiritual warriors, my prayer warriors, my light workers, and shadow divers to Alchemistic Insight, where we don't just talk about esoteric and metaphysical insight. We decode it, galvanize it, and use it to navigate the shifts that are already shaping our reality. Now, this is part 1 of The Last Kings and the First Rebels, and today we're diving deep into Pluto in Aquarius, the cosmic wrecking ball dismantling hierarchy and forcing us to rethink power itself. So, if you've been feeling like the world is on the edge of something massive, and like I said, it's chaotic, it's anxiety driven, it's nerve wracking, you feel hopelessness at this moment. But this is what we're seeing, the apocalypse, right? Before the rebuilding phase. So like I said, if you've been feeling like the world is on the edge of something massive, you're right. And if you've been questioning who's really in control, you should be. And if you're wondering how to position yourself in the power shift that's already unfolding, you're in the right place. I'm Reverend Danielle M. Holdman, host and ordained metaphysical minister and practitioner, and I welcome you to the Alchemistic Insight podcast and newsletter. If this is your first time, please feel free to subscribe via any platform where you listen to your podcast, and that is Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Audible, and I'm on all the platforms. So wherever you choose to listen to your podcast, Pocket Cast is another one, another podcatcher. But if you want it directly in your email inbox, plus receive some bonus intel in between the episodes, go to DanielleHoldman.com and subscribe for free. Like, for example, the most recent newsletter, and it's called Has the Universe Hit the Chaos Button? I went over the transits that will be affecting us collectively in the month of March. So you get things like that. And as time unfolds, I will be dropping more information in between episodes, some personal insights for you, where the episodes are more of a I'm talking to the collective, right? So if you are interested in information like that in between the episodes, go to DanielleHoldman.com and subscribe for free. I will attach the link to the most recent newsletter in the show notes so that you can kind of get a feel for it. And trust me, this month, March, we're what, approaching the middle of the month in about 4 days. Yeah, it's going to be hot and heavy. It's going to get real hot and heavy because we're already in Venus. Venus is already retrograding in Aries, about to slide back into Pisces soon. We just had a new moon in Pisces a couple weeks ago, and I did a collective dispatch. So if you haven't heard that episode, the inaugural episode, go listen to that. It's very relative to what is happening right now. But this week coming up and the rest of the month, this is eclipse season. Hard resets. Go check out that last newsletter and go check out that last episode. So in this episode, we will be discussing what is Pluto and what is Aquarius and the 411 about this transit. Again, this is part 1. So we're doing a 2-parter deep dive. And then in the second episode, we'll dive further into the dismantling process of Pluto in Aquarius and how it pertains to us collectively and personally. Also, historical transits, historical Pluto and Aquarius transits, and even a parallel time in history that is very, very relative to what we are experiencing today and going to be experiencing over this 20-year collective character arc, I'll say, because that's how long Pluto is going to be transiting Aquarius, for about 20 years. So hold on to your seats because this is going to be a lot of information for us to unpack and for you to process and contemplate. And this is serious. We are in serious times, dealing with some unserious and ridiculous folks. So we need to be equipped with a lot of information, a lot of intel to help navigate through what we are experiencing. I always say this, the planets, astrology and planets and energy doesn't need you to believe in it because it believes in you and it's going to interact with you whether you are aware of it or not. So it's better to know what energies we are dealing with, that we're navigating through, so you can work with the energies and not against the energies. Because historical transits don't lie. Historical information on past transits really tell a big major story. And history has a tendency to repeat itself. And I know I'm paraphrasing here, but they said that history doesn't repeat itself. It just flows it's very rhythmic. So it make the same exact thing may not happen in the present time, but there's a rhythm to it that feels very familiar. I like to call it the remix, so to speak. So in episode 2, you'll see what I'm talking about when we look at past transits and all the history that took place around the past transits. So before we dive further into this topic, I want to start off with a prayer, and I'll be doing this every episode because it's very important for us to ground ourselves and for us to recenter our mind and our heart spaces, our heart chakra. Because we need to, like I said, we are in spiritual warfare. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The reality is we are in spiritual warfare. And if you're listening to this transmission, it's because you are a spiritual warrior. You are a spiritual activist. You are a light worker. You're a shadow diver. You're a prayer warrior. We're here. It's time for us to get to work. So let's go ahead and ground ourselves. Take 3 deep breaths. 3, 2, 1. Let's take another one. Take an inhale. Okay, let's exhale. And let's take one more deep breath. I want you to release all the stress, all the information overload that you've been seeing and reading online. Hopefully you have turned the TV off because they're lying in mainstream media. That's another story and something I highlighted in the newsletter. But anyway, so let's go ahead. Infinite divine intelligence, divine source, energy. As the tides of transformation rise, I call upon the power of Pluto in Aquarius to awaken my mind, free my spirit, and align my soul with the great unfolding. May I release the chains of outdated structures, false leaders, and illusionary fears. May I embrace the unknown, guided by truth, curiosity, and fearless innovation. May my voice join the chorus of revolution, calling forth justice, progress, and sovereignty. Bless the people who seek to build a world where power is shared and not hoarded. Bless the seekers, the rebels, the visionaries who dare to dream beyond a limitation. Bless the networks of wisdom and light that weave a new reality for all. Let my mind be sharp, my heart be open, and my will be unbreakable. Let my actions serve the collective without losing the integrity of my soul. Let my presence be a force of liberation, transformation, and higher truth. I surrender to the cosmic shift. I am knowing that destruction is only the prelude to rebirth. I trust in the divine chaos, for it is clearing the path for what must come next. I stand unafraid in the face of the unknown, for I am part of the great awakening. As above, so below, as within, so without. The future is ours to create. With wisdom, with courage, with divine love, I walk forward into the new aeon. Through the mighty and sacred I am presence, and through the all-seeing eye of God's divine mind, and so it is. Selah. So before we dive into the discussion about specifically Pluto and Aquarius and unpacking that information, I want to give a brief understanding of the transpersonal perspective. Now, the transpersonal refers to experiences, consciousness states, and psychological approaches that go beyond the personal self to touch the collective, the cosmos, higher levels of existence. And it encompasses experiences of identity beyond individual limitations, states of consciousness that transcends time, space, and the ego, mystical, spiritual, and transcendental aspects of human life, and the cultivation of higher human qualities, altruism, creativity, and intuitive wisdom, and deep, unshakable connectedness when ego boundaries dissolve. Now, this all comes from transpersonal psychology, which is a field of studies that studies how these expanded states contribute to psychological healing, transformation, and integration. And the concept was introduced about 90 years ago, but became more formalized in the late 1960s as the fourth force of psychology. And it was building upon psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and humanistic psychology. So transpersonal psychology and transpersonal counseling, and also how it's in alignment with metaphysics and higher spirituality, that's all coming back into awareness, into discussion in the present age. So I want to start off by saying that Pluto is a generational planet. It is one of 3 generational planets. And the planets in astrology are divided amongst 3 categories. So you have the transpersonal. Well, I'll start off with the personal planets. So you have the personal planets that are Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then you would add the sun and the moon, even though the sun and moon are luminaries. They're light. And then you have your social planets, and that would be Jupiter and Saturn. And that's because the personal planets and the social planets have a tendency to travel around the sun a lot quicker than the transpersonal planets, the generational planets, I'm sorry. The because there's all the planets on some level are transpersonal, but the generational planets. So the personal planets definitely circulate around the sun, transit around the sun a lot quicker within days, as the moon, or within a month, or a few weeks, as with the sun, which was about like 4 weeks around this, and then, or it's a season, and then you have like Mars and Venus and Mercury, which takes a few weeks to travel around the sun, depending if they're in retrograde or not. And then, like I said, the social planets, like the Jupiter, takes about a year. Yeah, about a year to travel around the sun. And Saturn, about 2.5 years to travel around the sun. Now, the generational planets, they're called generations because Pluto. Okay, let's start off with Uranus, which is we're going to be talking about Uranus in this series in a later episode. And the same with Neptune. But Uranus takes about 84 years to transit around the sun. Neptune takes about 165 years to transit around the sun. And Pluto takes 248 years to transit around the sun. Okay? So the generational planets, which I really, again, am focusing on and centering my work within this podcast, is within the generational planets. So Uranus is about that sparks of rebellion, sudden shifts and innovation. Neptune governs spirituality, illusion, and the disillusion of reality. And Pluto forces death, rebirth, power shifts, and deep transformation. So as I mentioned, I think I mentioned in the first episode, that Pluto, America, the United States, just had a Pluto return in Capricorn. Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008 when former President Barack Obama was elected into office, and we had a housing crisis, a recession, and they bailed out the banks. So Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008 into late last year. So when the guy in office right now was so much stuff, but all that stuff, let's just put it this way. The last presidential elections happened in a retrograding Pluto in Capricorn. And then the following, it went direct in Aquarius. So for about a couple years since 2023, there has been a dance of Pluto going in and out of Aquarius. So we had previews here and there for about 2 years until Pluto finally went into Aquarius and will be here for the next 20 years in November of 2024. So, yeah. So Pluto like I said, America just had a Pluto return, and we'll talk about Pluto returns and also in episode 2 in the significance of not Pluto returns. Yeah, Pluto returns and retrograding Pluto. But America just had a Pluto return, and it's about confronting all the things that no longer serves us. And that's a sanitary blanket statement, because as we dive deeper into Pluto, you'll see what it really is about. So for America, we shouldn't be surprised what's going on right now, because it has exposed all the truths about America's dirty laundry. Everything that was in America's closet has fallen out the closet. So we should not be surprised of what we are seeing and what we are experiencing right now. If you understand the history of this country, then you shouldn't be surprised when something that continuously is repressed or suppressed and is not dealt with comes out like the boogeyman and wants to get your attention. That is the shadow. The shadow is going to get your attention one way or another. The Pluto is called the Lord of the Underworld for a reason. Pluto is associated with the shadow. Pluto is castor oil. It's a necessary medicine and it will heal you. It will purge stuff out of you. So America is going through a great purge. And my intention of going into these generational planets, because they're going to shape the direction of not only this country, but every country that's on this planet for the next 20 years. And if we don't face the BS that is in front of us, this is going to be not only the demise of a country, but the demise of a planet. The energies are shifting. Mother Earth is tired of us and our BS, of us leeching on her, living on her, disrespecting her, and disrespecting each other. There's no way, shape, or form that I can say even better for you, but it's time for us to wake up and take back our personal power. Because if you don't take your power back from others and use it, someone else is going to attempt to suppress it and control it. So you have to take back your control. You have to take back of your God-given sovereignty, recognize it and own it, and stay centered and grounded in your God confidence or your Godfidence, as I would call it. That when you are centered and you're grounded in that divine source energy and you are protected and you decree and affirm your protection. And even when you are trembling, your legs are trembling, when you feel hopelessness, you need to go within and breathe and ask the divine to order your steps. We incarnated as spiritual beings having a human experience at this time because we were equipped to overcome the darkness and negativity that is plaguing our planet at this time. Ignorant folks, like those people right now, have the audacity and the biggest flawed egos to feel that they are untouchable, that they have a God complex. They have wounded egos that they are just projecting onto everybody else to suppress and control and dominate other people. But again, my intention with this series, with the intention with the podcast is to really hold space. And I know that word is used over and over again, and it's to the point it can lose its meaning. But my intention with this podcast is to bring forth information, to hold space, to let you know you're not going crazy. There is a reason why, and there's an understanding of why the world is the way it is. There is an esoteric reasoning behind it, and to help you decode it and decipher it without any conspiracy theories. Because we cannot get caught up in conspiracy theories at this time. Time is of the essence. And we need to be grounded and center and decipher bullshit from truth to navigate mis and disinformation, because not only are we in spiritual warfare, but we are going through psychological warfare and we're going through information warfare using these type of technologies. So I'm going to give you insight, what the energies are like, what it brings, and how you can leverage it so we can all work together to combat and to transmute this negative, diabolical energy at this time. Because we have work to do, we have futures to build, we have things to look forward, and we have the right to be here. Because God created us. God loves each and every one of us. We are here for a reason. So let's go ahead and dive into Pluto, because Pluto is here really to destroy and before it rebuilds. So right now we're in the apocalypse. We are in the Armageddon, the aftermath of this Pluto return that America has experienced. So, because what is happening in this particular country is affecting what is going on internationally. Just go ahead and pay attention, look at some of the news clips out there and the issues we're having that we're creating with other countries. I mean, it's crazy out there. So the messiness, the things that we're seeing, the government where it feels like it's collapsing, and the loopholes within government has been exposed. He exposed it, and maybe there's a reason why, he's in a position to expose these things. So we know what we need to really dismantle. We, the people, need to dismantle, not him. We, the people, need to dismantle because it no longer works. And what we need to rebuild that is going to be beneficial for all people. So Pluto's job is to destroy before it rebuilds. And in Aquarius, the sign of the collective, the sign of progress, the sign of technology, rebellion, and truth, we are witnessing the destruction phase. And so the authoritarian, patriarchal, and systemic structures of the past are fighting tooth and nail to survive because they know their time is up. So what happens when they know their time is up and they're being evicted? They're gonna mess it up for everybody. If I can't have it, you can't have it. It's a selfish act. But that's when, on a subconscious level, now I can guarantee they don't follow astrology or even pay attention to transits. They may even think it's all fun and games and goofy and pop culture stuff, or some people may call it demonic or whatever they want to put into something. But honey, God created the planets, and energy never dies. It just transforms. And you don't have to believe in transits or astrology for it to move forward and it to move in cycles, flow in cycles. These planets have been here long before us, and they're going to be here long after us. So that's that. So, but on a subconscious level, on a soul level, they know this time. They know their time is up. They know it's almost over, and so they are going to destroy things. And so extreme backlash is part of Pluto's process. And so every time Pluto shifts signs, the old guard resists before it collapses. So Pluto in Capricorn was about exposing like the government, corporations, banking, those type of dominant entities within our planet, things that govern our world. And if you look back within that 15-year transit, is it 15 years? Yeah. 2008, 2024. Yeah. Well, about 15 years. Anyways, you see what changes have happened. You see what was exposed, what weakened, what collapsed. And so now we're seeing this is the aftermath. This is the aftermath. So 10 major important, insightful, and honest takeaways about Pluto. I want to go into this before we get into Aquarius. So the first thing is Pluto is the ultimate force of transformation. No one escapes its influence. So Pluto doesn't just change things. It destroys what no longer is sustainable, so that true transformation can occur. And so, again, what we're seeing right now is, I mean, it's upsetting. It really is upsetting. It makes us vulnerable. It makes us feel like we do not have a foundation going on. It confirms a lot of things for a lot of people that have been complaining about this government structure. But it was fated to happen. Let's just put it that way. It was fated to happen. And it's not just the government. It's even like our businesses, big business, our technology, the tech, or the oligarchs, that you hear that word coming across. So now that has been coming up in the forefront of people's conversations, especially when it deals with technology. That's been coming up in the forefront of people's conversations. And like I said, when we go into Aquarius, you see what themes come up with that. And you'll see some other things that have been used and abused and demonized that are Aquarian themed. And we'll talk about that. But Pluto operates in the shadows. Unseen forces rule more than we realize. So Pluto governs the hidden, the undercurrents of power, control, and manipulation. All this has been planned from the get-go. Project 2025, that's been in the works for a long time. It's just now been brought up to the forefront of our consciousness starting last year. And thanks to Taraji P. Henson when she mentioned it at BT. And if you go to trends.google.com, you will see, due to her making that announcement on TV in that capacity, you'll see with the search engine, the search trends, so that it was an uptick in Project 2025 in correlation to when she made that statement in June of 2024. But that's been around for a while, right? And so it forces us to confront what's been buried, trauma, corruption, secrets, and suppressed truths. You know how the foundation of this country, how it began. I talked about it. Genocide towards indigenous Native Americans, human trafficking of enslaved Africans. Do we need to go into what they did with the Japanese around World War II in America? Women haven't always been treated very kindly, and they're trying to push us back in the closet now. Class warfare, systemic racism. I mean, it's all there. Classism, the widen the I guess you could say the deconstruction of the middle class. The pay gap is widening. The poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. So there's a lot of things in this democratic society that needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to that we need to unpack if we want to keep our country democratic. There are some things that needs to change for the better for all people. So if we can shift our minds from, oh my gosh, we're going into authoritarian government. Yes, there is democratic backsliding. That's the proper terminology. We are experiencing democratic backsliding right now as we speak. But if we can shift our perspective and see this as an opportunity to take back our country and rebuild it for the better of all, emphasis on all people, not a certain niche of people, not certain demographic of people, all peoples. This is an opportunity for us to just be honest about the truth of the matter. Wherever Pluto is active, expect deep revelations that expose hidden agendas. Every day of the week, we are being exposed to new truths. If you can shift through and sort through the misinformation and the disinformation, there is truth. There is truth coming out of people's mouths, whether they're aware of it or not. And if you can really grasp it, they're telling on themselves. They're it is time. We cannot push away. It is information overload. It is overwhelming. Yes, it is. Whew, God, it's overwhelming. But when you step away for a little bit and then you come back, what I would say is ground yourself and ask the divine, ask God to guide you towards the truth, even if it hurts your feelings. Guide you toward the truth, even if it hurts your feelings. And the truth will be exposed. Hidden agendas have been exposed. Pluto strips away false identities. What you think you are will be tested. It dismantles the ego's illusions, forcing people to confront their raw, unfiltered selves. And Pluto transits often bring identity death and rebirth. Careers, relationships, and beliefs will be purged if they no longer serve your highest evolution. We are going through a identity death and rebirth right now as a collective, not just within this country, but internationally. Who are we really? And who is this benefiting? Pluto rules power. So who has it? Who's losing it? and how it's being used. Pluto controls governments, corporations, dictatorships, wealth consolidation, and mass influence. So when Pluto shifts, power dynamics collapse and new systems emerge. There's a fight of who's going to be in control right now. Is it going to be a select group of people overseeing a mass collective, a mass group of people, or is the power going to be in the people's hands? And how are we going to work together? How are we going to put aside our differences and really, really meet each other in the middle? And it's interesting. As divided as this country has been, in the last few weeks, everyone's been getting it to the point. I mean, this is going to force us to put our differences aside and really work together and really decide, what do we want to do? How do we want our future to look? Because what's going on right now, it ain't it. It's not it. It's not benefiting anybody, and it's causing a lot of harm and pain towards millions of people and billions of people around the world. It's having a domino effect. It's directly or indirectly affecting everybody. The dark side, Pluto is also the planet of coercion, manipulation, and psychological warfare. Pluto's energy is generational, and it shapes entire eras and societal revolutions. Now, we're going to actually see this, talk about this, or I'm going to share this in episode 2 to give you an idea of Pluto's influences during certain points in history, specifically during a Pluto in Aquarius transits, and also in a specific opposition of Pluto in Aquarius, which is Pluto in Leo, and how that is actually parallel to what is happening today. So it stays in a sign 12 to 13 years, and that has to do with the elliptical of Pluto when it circulates around the sun. So if you look at some people's birth charts and you see that, or look at a certain time frame that a Pluto was in a particular sign, I know that in it was like, for example, this is a 20-year transit, but when the sign was in Virgo, it was about 12 years or something like that. It wasn't that long of a transit compared to the Pluto in Leo transit, or even, I would say even the most recent one, Pluto in Capricorn. So it just depends. So 12 to 30 years is how long it can transit around the sun. So like I said, it marks a massive shifts in consciousness and collective themes. So every Pluto cycle mirrors historical revolutions, collapse, and new world orders. It governs the rise and fall of empires, financial systems, and cultural paradigms. Pluto forces deep shadow work. What's hidden must be confronted. Pluto rules the unconscious, trauma, fear, obsession, and rebirth. And personal Pluto transits can bring dark nights of the soul, which is what we are collectively experiencing right now, which is a spiritual crisis, and deep psychological healing and karmic reckonings. And globally, Pluto can bring mass awakenings to systemic corruptions, injustices, and suppressed history. Does all this sound familiar, especially with the rhetoric that's been going on? Yeah, we're going to dive deeper into some of that rhetoric and why it's important now. Pluto's end game is empowerment, but only if you survive the fire. And after Pluto destroys, it forces rebirth on a stronger foundation. It teaches true power is not about control. It's about self-mastery. Those who surrender to Pluto's process emerge as more resilient, powerful, and clear in their purpose. Pluto is a planet of extremes. It's never subtle, and Pluto's influences it's pretty much an all or nothing, life or death, power or powerless. Notice the dualities: life or death, power or powerless. It intensifies whatever it touches, and whether that is destruction, desire, or transformation. And Pluto events feel like it's a fate unfolding. Once set in motion, there's no stopping them. What we're experiencing now is fated. It's going to continue to unfold. Again, it's about whether you're going to step up to the plate or whether you're going to wither away and die. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Are you going to fight for your life? Are you going to fight the power like Public Enemy? Or are you going to wither away and die? You have power. Pluto is here to let you know you have the power to stop all of this. But it's going to take collectiveness. And not just in one country. It's going to take international collectiveness. We all have to work together collectively. And Pluto teaches that true power comes from the willingness to let go. Pluto's energy is about surrender and not force. And the harder you cling, the harsher the destruction. The ultimate lesson here is that Pluto isn't about control. It's about transformation. And those who resist Pluto's process often experiences the most painful lessons. All I can say is take back your power. Take back your power. Let things go that no longer serve you. Let it go. Take the medicine, take the castor oil, even though it tastes very nasty, it's good for you. And the Pluto's final gift is resurrection. It kills what's false to reveal what is eternal. And the Pluto process always follows 3 stages: death, transformation, and rebirth. We are in the death stage right now. We are in the midst of a death. It's American ego death. How does that relate to you personally? Right? So what Pluto takes away was never meant to stay in its old form. We have been talking about systemic racism, bigotry, misogyny, classism, ableism, all these different isms. We've been talking about this. This is what's been talking about. Now we can do something about it, but we have to fight back. We have to not quote unquote just resist. We have to push back, and we have to transmute. That's what we have to do. We have to overcome this. We have to work together collectively. Because after Pluto's purge, what remains is stronger, more authentic, and indestructible. So a final truth is Pluto isn't here to hurt us. It's not here to hurt you. It's not here to hurt me. It's here to strip away the lies so that you can reclaim your raw, unshakable power. The truth has been coming up. People are being forced to face the truth, and it's too much for a lot of people, so they shut down. But those who already know, we're just sitting back and look, I told you so. Right? I told you this is what I told you. But now we have to okay, now that I told you, and now that you know what the truth is, what are we going to do about it? Pluto doesn't care about comfort. It cares about your evolution. Like I said, Pluto does not care that you're uncomfortable about what's going on. Pluto is asking you, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to deal with it? It's kind of like when you're training your dog about do not poop over here. And sometimes you put his face to the poop like, no, we don't do this. That's kind of what Pluto's doing to us. Like it's telling us taking our head and having us face the truth. So are you going to evolve or are you going to devolve? Because you can either cling to the wreckage or you can rise from the ashes. It's your choice. So that is what Pluto is all about. Okay. It can come subtly, but Pluto has been front and center. Pluto has been front and center in our face. So if you did not know who Pluto was, just take a look around you, and that's Pluto energy. Now let's go into Aquarius, right? So Aquarius is the revolutionary catalyst. It's ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. It is a fixed air sign. It's about Aquarius energy is very intellectual, is very strategic. and deeply focused on long-term change. Aquarius is about dismantling oppression, embraces innovation, and fights for equity and truth. Now, in astrology, Aquarius rules the 11th house, and the 11th house is about governing networks, social movements, and collective awakenings. It's a social house, right? It's a social sign. Even though at times Aquarius may not feel like being social. And I'll be social. I'm part of the pack, but I'm not part of the pack. I'm my own self. I'm my own individual. Now Aquarius, the opposite side of Aquarius, it opposes is Leo. Leo rules the 5th house, and those themes are about individual expression, ego-driven power, and centralization of leadership, where Aquarius is about decentralization. And those are two things that are going to be popping up: decentralization and centralization. So I want to go into how Saturn and Uranus relate to Aquarius. So Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. It's about structure, discipline in the system. And so Saturn gives Aquarius its intellectual rigor, its discipline, and ability to create long-term societal blueprints. So right now, we need to be in the fighting back and taking back our power, and in the building some type of blueprint for a future that's beneficial and healthy for all individuals that are residing within this country, and to strengthen our relationships, healthier relationships with our internationally. Right, with our neighbors, rebuilding our relationship with our neighbors. Yeah. It represents law, governance, and institutions. Aquarius doesn't just dream of change, it strategizes and implements it. And the paradox is Aquarius seeks revolution, but Saturn reminds it that lasting change requires structure and planning. So yes, revolution, yes. Resistance, yes. But what is the game plan? Do we have a plan? Do we have a solution? Are we working towards some type of blueprint? Are we working together in different groups, in niched groups, where we all are working together as a collective, right? So Saturn in Aquarius manifests as social contracts, ethical responsibility, and the push for laws that promote collective well-being. Okay, so Uranus, its modern ruler of Aquarius, represents innovation, rebellion, the disruptor. I call it the liberator, right? Uranus gives Aquarius its rebellious streak, the visionary ideas, and the radical break from outdated systems. And it governs sudden awakenings, technological advances, and paradigm shifts that force humanity into the future. Now, the paradox of this is that Uranus destroys what no longer serves. Same with Pluto, right? But without Saturn's structure, chaos can follow. Uranus ruling Aquarius manifests as revolutions, AI, space exploration, cyber activism, and the fight against oppressive hierarchies. The fight against fascism, the fight against authoritarianism. Oppressive hierarchies. Oppressive ideologies. And so together, Saturn and Uranus makes Aquarius both the revolutionary and the archetype of the future. And it breaks down what doesn't work and building what will. So with Pluto also being a destroyer, being an Aquarius, and Aquarius being ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, to kind of give an idea and intel, you could break this down. It's kind of like a math problem, right? So if Pluto is in Aquarius and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn, what are extra intel of this transit? What does it tell me? So Uranus is currently in Taurus, about to move into Gemini in July. So right now, let's focus on where it's at right now, which is Taurus. And then Saturn is in the last, it's hurrah in Pisces before it moves into Aries in May. So the Saturn and Pisces energy is also currently influencing this particular transit, along with Uranus being in Taurus is influencing this particular transit, because Aquarius is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, right? So I want to talk about three things that relates to Aquarius that is currently being demonized by certain groups of people who feel is that it is a threat to their own suppressive, racist ideologies. And that is being woke, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and deconstruction and liberation. So let's talk about being woke, right? And I mentioned this in the first episode, but being woke is about being aware of higher consciousness. It's about awareness and higher consciousness. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and it's about sudden awakening. And Saturn is about wisdom and structure of thought. So Aquarius is a sign of radical awareness. Woke is a true sense. In its true sense, it's about being aware of systemic oppression, so social conditioning and hidden truths, which are classic Aquarian themes. And the reason why they Gemini woke, because they don't want you to be aware of the falsehoods that's going on and the bullshit that and the mind games and the manipulation that they're playing in your face. They don't want you to be aware of it, and they don't want you calling out that they are clowns playing games in your face. That's what it is. The more you speak power to truth, they want to suppress it because they don't want to be held accountable. They don't like it. It's intimidating to them. It makes them feel inferior because they're not centered in God awareness at all. And they're not centered in Christ awareness at all. They're not centered in love awareness. They're not centered in compassion at all. So that's why they're demonizing it. Aquarius governs collective consciousness, meaning personal enlightenment isn't enough. It must be shared and applied for the greater good. So if they don't want us to come together, it overpowers them. Okay? The pushback against wokeness is a backlash against Aquarian progress. As outdated systems resist change. The pushback against wokeness is a backlash against progress. As outdated systems resist change. As outdated systems resist change. That is why they are demonizing it. Or as Jane Fonda said at the SAG Awards, it's just giving a damn about other people. What's wrong with that? Having compassion and empathy, compassion for other people outside of yourself. Now let's go into deconstruction and liberation. Aquarius is a sign of dismantling oppressive structures. It questions authority, institutions, and old paradigms. Pluto in Aquarius amplifies deconstruction of outdated power systems, corporate, governmental, religious, and economic. Liberation isn't just about breaking free. It's about creating something new, futuristic, people-centered structures after the collapse. And Aquarius rules disruptive innovation, new technologies, and decentralized governance and movements that free individuals from top-down control. Some things are faded and out of our control. And if the energies is about breaking down things that no longer serves us, that's what's going to happen. Now, whether you step up to it or not is up to you. It's up to me. It's up to all of us. But whoever steps and works with the energy, that's who's going to be in control. But honestly, if you're working against the energy, you're not going to have any success. And this energy really, yes, it's looking like authoritarianism and fascism is the way in 1984 and the Handmaid's Tale is going to be a reality. But looking at the energies, and the more I dive deeper into my research, and as you'll see in episode 2, this energy, the cycle does not support that in the long term. So Aquarius, like I said, it's about disruptive innovation and power of the people, of collective awareness. And the last thing I want to talk about before I close this episode, because like I said, we got a 2-parter. So we're not done with this conversation, but diversity, equity, and inclusion is another thing they're demonizing. Aquarius is about humanitarian and collective focus. It doesn't prioritize one group over another. It values collective progress. That's what this is about. It's not about Black people or the LGBT community or those who are disabled or a woman or this and that or any person of color or anybody within a marginalized community. It's about collective progress. And it's not a hierarchy. They want to live in a hierarchy society where one dominant a group of people are dominant over others. That's what they're trying to push. That's what they're trying to put on a pedestal and push away collective progress. But what is already ordained is ordained. So you can resist all you want, but if collective progress is the way that we need to go, and it's in the records of life of the universe, it's in the book of knowledge that this is the direction, the chapter, and the phase of this planetary evolution. You can try to fight it, but you're not going to be able to control it. So collective progress it is. Now, equity is an Aquarian idea. Everyone deserves access. Yes, they do. Representation. Yes, they do. Opportunity based on their needs and not a false idea of equality. Aquarius celebrates diversity in all forms. Race, gender, sexuality, thought, and experience, because innovation thrives on difference. If we want to be in an innovative society, then we need to respect everybody's knowledge, their lived experiences, their difference of expression. God didn't make any mistakes when he made all of us in the way that we are. And the disrespect to diverse expressions and lived experiences and knowledge is a disrespect to God. And I say that with conviction. The attack on DEI is an attempt to suppress Aquarian progress and reinforce outdated Capricornian hierarchies that Pluto is now dismantling. We are seeing a dismantling and a death process. That is what we're bearing witness to, and that is what we are experiencing right now. That is what we are experiencing and bearing witness to right now. And in some cases, the things that did not work in the government is being exposed. And we have the opportunity to step up and use our voices and work together, put aside our differences, and work together to rebuild something that is going to be beneficial and supportive of all peoples and their livelihood and their expression. Pluto in Aquarius is the ultimate cosmic enforcer of these themes, and those who resist evolution will find themselves left behind. And really, what has been said on these internet streets, this has been FAFO season, fuck around and find out season, right? And sooner or later, if you're going to F around and mess with people's livelihoods, you're going to find out. The universe, the spirit world ain't playing. We need to evolve. Mother Nature needs to evolve. Society and the collective consciousness needs to evolve. We need to be in alignment. We need to really be in alignment with love and compassion and grace for others. Because if we're out of alignment, we're going to get slapped in the face, and it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be pretty. And I'm being very direct and bold because it's the truth. So bear witness to what's going on. Now you know what we are experiencing. We are in the death phase. Pluto is dismantling. Pluto is dismantling and telling us, what are you guys as a people going to do about this? I'm showing you what's going on. I'm showing you all the players. You have the collective power to take back control and rebuild something that's far greater than what you experienced. Now, technology is going to become a battleground, and grass movements will rise in this energy. So I'm going to end here because we're already at an hour, and I want to really thank you for being here. I am going to actually save this for the next episode, but I want to give you this takeaway real quick. Spiritual activists, your mission isn't just to fight injustice. It is to dismantle it at its root. Pluto demands that you expose, disrupt, and alchemize corrupted systems, not just protest them. You are the architect of what comes next. Spiritual warriors and prayer warriors, Pluto reminds you that your true warfare is unseen, fought in spirit, energy, and intention. This is a time for deep, focused spiritual resistance, protection, purification, and invocation of higher power are no longer optional. They are necessary weapons. And I have some Psalms that I will share in the newsletter. So if you sign up for the newsletter, you will get the Psalms, and there's a declaration of liberation that I will be adding to that. Light workers. The light you hold must be strong enough to illuminate the hidden shadows of the world. Pluto doesn't allow surface level healing. It demands that you lead people through the dark, not just toward the light. And my shadow divers, your work is critical now. Pluto is ripping open the collective unconscious, exposing the wounds of history, oppression, and generational trauma. You are here to guide others through the abyss and into their rebirth. This is not a time for passive spirituality for any of us. This is a time for fearless transformation. Pluto is calling forth those who are willing to stand at the threshold of destruction and creation and hold space for both. Now let's get to work. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Sign up at danielleholdman.com, where you will get the show notes and additional intel and conversations that you can actually respond by commenting at danielleholdman.com in relation to this podcast episode. And again, thank you. It is time for us to get to work. Until next time, namaste.
Thank you for listening to Alchemistic Insight with Danielle M. Holdman. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, not just to the show, but also to the accompanying newsletter at danielleholdman.com. There, you will find deeper insights and updates. Until next time, lots of peace, love, imagination, and action.